Bandwidth for Cincinnati Soccer Talk is provided by Cincy Shirts. Get your locally sourced FC Cincinnati MLS merch today by heading over to cincyshirts.com. Hey, what's happening, CSTers? Do not adjust your mobile phones, your tablets, your computers. We are coming to you live from the cincyshirts.com studios. Yes, we are live again, and boy, does it feel good. It especially feels good after a 3-0 thrashing of the Portland Timbers. I'm Nick Sermling here with Boston Razzle Dazzle Brazzle and Bill Wolf. A lot to digest this week, folks. It was an exciting day yesterday. We're opening up the King's Hammer hotline a little bit later on in the show because we want to hear about your match day experience. So get in touch with us on the King's Hammer hotline at 513-399-KICK, 513-399-KICK. We want to hear from you. Of course, FC Cincinnati gets the 3. Wow, I'm so excited about being live again. I can't even talk. They get the 3-0 win over the Portland Timbers over the weekend. And if you look at the Eastern Conference standings, hey, they're not that far down, folks. Pretty exciting. So, again, we want to hear from you, 513-399-KICK, 513-399-KICK, and let us know how yesterday went for you. This week's episode captain, we're very excited to have an episode captain this week. Give it up for Michael Mutchler. Michael, thank you so much for supporting us here on Cincinnati Soccer Talk. We want to hear from you, folks, and you want your support, so help us out, CincinnatiSoccerTalk.com/support. That is where you can go learn how you can be an episode captain for an episode of Cincinnati Soccer Talk. All right, enough chatter from me. Let's welcome in my cast and crew for this week. I mentioned Boston and Bill. Boston, I'll start with you. How are you doing, buddy?
I'm still mad from the last podcast, and I carried it over into the game. I'm mad Donut's not there. I'm mad the flags are not big enough. But I guess FC Cincinnati won 3-0, and I'll survive.
Yes, you will. Good to have you back, Boston. I'm sorry our paths didn't cross on Sunday. I saw you very briefly. I yelled your name, but much like many women of my time, you chose to turn around and ignore me. So it's good to have you back. Also good to have back the Wolfman, Bill Wolf. Bill, how's it going, buddy? How are your arms? You nice and rested?
Yeah, finally. I was probably about 3 doses of Advil, and now I'm feeling pretty good. My left wrist gave out about 10 minutes to go in the game, so just got to get out of that pregame slump and get into full match fitness.
Well, I'm glad to have you back. I mean, the Bailey sounded amazing from where I was sitting. I was on the opposite side of the stadium, 2 sections away from the Timbers Army, who I have to give a lot of props to. They brought it. They were courteous. They weren't obnoxious, but they were noisy, as it should be. And so hearing you guys compared to the Timbers Army, it was a pretty fantastic experience for me. All right, well, let's talk a little bit about the match itself. FC Cincinnati gets the win 3-0 over the Portland Timbers. Kendall Waston getting the goal to start things off for FC Cincinnati there in the 15th minute on a beautiful free kick from Leonardo Bertone. From your vantage point, gentlemen, how special was that for the first MLS goal at Nippert Stadium?
Go ahead, Boston.
Well, I think that was pretty awesome. Don't get me wrong. 15 minutes in, it set the pace. It kind of said, hey, we're here. We're playing this game. Don't take us lightly. FC Cincinnati's going to win this thing. I mean, I think the nerves I felt going into Seattle and even down at Atlanta, where it was more of a surprise. Once Waston scored that goal, I was like, we're going to win this thing. I'm not even worried about the rest of the match. And I don't know. It just seemed like we didn't have possession, but we dictated the flow of the game. And it just felt really good from the get-go, just to score that early and put everyone's mind at ease so they could just enjoy the match.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, we saw like games like Chicago where we had comments from Taylor Twellman about the crowd being sort of nervous and quiet. And I think that just erased that right out of the get-go. I mean, there was enough early on. We weren't back on our heels for too much. And then we started to get some possession, and we got the goal in. Everyone got to loosen up and have some fun and make a lot of noise. We got to light some smoke. It probably took the monkey off the players' back. It took the monkey off the crowd's back, and we were able to get behind the game and enjoy it. So it was perfect timing, and after that, other than Boston, I never doubted that we were going to win.
Well, I would say, especially after seeing the initial lineup, that there weren't any changes from Atlanta. I was surprised at the starting 11. I think even you mentioned it too, Boston. When we first saw the lineup, that you were kind of surprised too. There were no changes. So really, that early goal, you couple that with the late goal in Atlanta, the early goal here against Portland. You're kind of spot on there about getting things going. But when you saw the initial lineup rolled out that Allan Cruz had picked for the home opener, what was going through your mind?
I mean, I get that he wants to roll out the same lineup for consistency's sake. These guys played with each other a lot last week. I was fine with it. If I had to critique it, if we lost the match, I'd be sitting here screaming about why Garza and Kenny Safe weren't in it. But it turns out, we didn't even need Kenny on the field, instead electing to hold the lead, bring on the defensive subs, and then give Ledesma a shout out. But overall, I would only make 2 changes anyway, so all right with me.
Yeah, I think the only question for me really came down to Garza and Safe, and a lot of it has to do with their fitness and their integration with the team. Obviously, they looked really great for 10, 15 minutes in Atlanta, but the question is what can they do for an extended period of time with the team? Hopefully, well, almost certainly we're going to find out next week, and we'll talk about that in a bit. But I mean, for me, I looked at it and I thought, well, it worked last week, so I was okay. I mean, don't make a change, right? I mean, if your lineup is working, we gave up an early goal, but beyond that, we grounded out. And then, at the end, we rolled in, Garza and Safe, and Maddox came in for Mana a little bit earlier because of an injury. But, that strategy works. So I don't think you can ever fault a coach really for sticking with something that's working.
And knowing what's coming next week, just real quick, knowing what's coming next week where we've got to make changes anyway, why not just go for consistency, in this match?
Oh, yeah. I mean, you're spot on, too. Next week's going to be, that lineup's going to be pretty thin. I mean, you're missing 5 guys from FC Cincinnati's roster. We'll talk a little bit about that later on in the show. But now you add in the fact that Fernando Adi late in the first half goes down with a pretty significant ankle/foot/leg. We're not even sure what exactly he did. But all indications after the match, very precautionary at the moment. We don't know exactly what happened, but it didn't look good. The fact he had to be helped off the field there at halftime by the 2 trainers.
Yeah, and obviously we saw him as well, according to our photographers, that he was wearing a boot at the end of the game. So,
could be just precautionary.
Oh, I'm sure it was. But at the same time, nobody sat down and said, "Oh, this doesn't look as bad as we thought." They're definitely being cautious. They're probably having X-rays. No training today, so no chance for any of the media to get a sense of how he's feeling and how the coach is feeling and everything. So, I guess tomorrow is the first chance for the media to get back in and watch him, and everybody is probably going to be wondering what Adi looks like and whether he's wearing a boot still.
So Adi goes down with the injury there towards the end of the first half. Halftime happens. Second half, Maddox comes on. And right away, Boston, it was like something clicked. It was like, I don't want to say that FC Cincinnati was a different team, but something just, magic is a dumb way to put it, but I guess it was different. They were connecting passes a little more. Maddox felt like he was a little bit more involved, and it felt like the play, the quickness of play sped up a little bit.
Yeah, Maddox said, "Audi who?" Because he came out and just immediately made an impact. I think I tried to reflect that today on my player ratings. Maddox, Cruz, and Monet just absolutely flying up the pitch. I mean, Portland is down. Let's go past the second goal. Let's just say Portland's down 2 goals, and they cannot get back on offense because they're worried so much about how fast these guys are. And as soon as FC Cincinnati is able to create a turnover in midfield or a turnover in the final, in Portland's final third, just immediately, we just see like these 3 fighter jets streaking down the field, and Portland just could not get that out of their head. And it showed with their lack of shots and their lack of consistency in the second half.
Yeah, the front four, Bill, if you factor in Maddox there in the second half, Lamar, you've got Mane, and, of course, Cruz. Cruz and it looked like Lamar switched sides a couple different times there throughout the match, giving Portland a different look. But that front four, it's not the most dangerous attack in Major League Soccer, but I'll tell you what, if they click like they did there in that second half, against Portland. By the way, Portland was in the MLS Cup final not that long ago. Now, granted, they're struggling right now, and it's very apparent, but still, I mean, that attack there in the second half, they probably should have had more than 3 goals, to be honest.
Oh, yeah. And, I think giving a little bit of credit to Adi in this situation, to be fair, I mean, Lamar has a lot of pace. Cruz has a lot of pace. Mana has a lot of pace. Adi actually brings something a little different up there. He's a different player, and he is that larger body. He is a little bit more of a holding player at times. So at least the way we've been using him, he gives us somebody that we can actually target to put long balls to, which has been a nice option. We didn't need that against Portland at that point, and the pace is what was killing them in the back. They just couldn't keep up with our fast players. We ended up introducing a 4th fast player in Maddox. And the four of them actually just took off. What was it? Fire jet streaking down the field was Boston's quote there. We'll keep that one. And I think it's apparent that those 4 really clicked together very well. So it made some exciting soccer. Obviously you got to worry a little bit about people who are very fast attacking players as to whether or not they'll get back and close up the space and defend as well. But we didn't have, we got a clean sheet, so can't complain.
Yeah, first clean sheet in MLS history for FC Cincinnati, so that's a plus to get the first home win as well. First backheel goal for FC Cincinnati as well. I mean, that goal from Allan Cruz, I'll tell you what, I'm not joking. I got home last night about 11:30 p.m., and I spent a good 2.5 hours just replaying the 61st through the 63rd minute just to hear Stuart Holden's reactions on the broadcast from that cheeky backheel, Boston, right in front of the Bailey too. I mean, that was just sick.
Yeah, I think I've heard every version of call from that clip. I've seen about every angle of that clip I can watch. That second goal was probably one of the more fun things you can see.
Yeah, I actually had no idea. So until I got home and watched the game, I didn't realize that Cruz had done that. So, I mean, from where I'm at, I can't see anything, 5 to 10 feet in front of that goal. So, I mean, once he was down there pinned and he healed it, all I knew was people started shouting, and I was like, all right, play the drums. So.
I was in the perfect vantage point because I was in if you're looking at the stadium from the bench side, I was by the Timbers Army, so southeast corner of the stadium, and I could see the back heel and the post it was heading towards, and the keeper, knowing he was actually going the opposite direction. It was pretty awesome to see. I couldn't believe it. I looked over at my daughter, and we both our jaws just dropped. Like, what just happened? So you got that. Plus, 2 minutes later, bang bang, they're getting on the goal score sheet again. Matthew Duplan, Trisha Hauser's favorite gentleman in the world, scoring a goal for FC Cincinnati on what was some really good build-up play as well. What's going to get overlooked in that goal, gentlemen, is the play by Ulloa to win that ball back after Portland had gotten it from Mane and sent that cross back into the box. But the finish was great.
I thought Ulloa had a great game. I mean, he's not been a terrible player up to this point or anything. I'm not saying he had bad games, but I think this game he actually raised his value to this team quite a bit. He actually, this was probably his best game so far of the 3.
I'm glad you guys see that, because I thought I saw that on the pitch, but I also see him more as the silent partner. He hasn't done anything insanely flashy. He hasn't got an assist or a goal, but he's there creating chances in the midfield, and he's winning balls. And I'm glad that there are people out there. Brad was talking about how he needed to have a great game against Portland on the last March to match day, and I sat there like, huh, really? because I'll be honest, I didn't really pay attention to him much the first 2 games. And so because of that podcast, I watched him closely this match. And you're right. You know, he did spectacular things, but in a unspectacular fashion, to the point it's easy to overlook him, I think.
Holding mids often can do that. I mean, you'll have some that are just those beasts that just take people out, and they're very physical, and they're stopper type players, and those guys are exciting to watch, obviously, because bodies go flying. But sometimes those holding mids are very quiet players. You don't really see them on the field. You notice them when they're missing because things don't link together. But I think for me, like if I looked at Ulloa in game 1 against Seattle, I think he and Bertoni, they didn't quite have things clicking, right? They didn't understand that, when one went forward, the other one had to hold back, et cetera, et cetera. So they would go forward together, or they would stay back together. They didn't have their timing right. And I think that wasn't on him specifically. I think it was just on the mid itself, the midfield itself. I think game 2, Bertoni obviously had a pretty good game. But I think that it's like Ulloa, he was there, but he just seemed like maybe he was trying to focus too much on the timing, and he ended up staying back and letting Bertoni go forward a lot. He just seemed quiet to me. I didn't notice him a whole lot. I didn't see him do a whole lot, which it can be good, but I think in that case he was just a little too quiet. In this game, he seemed to be in the right places at the right time. He made the right plays. He linked up the back line to the front line quite a few times. So I think he made a statement in this game.
Well, and you look at what happened from a Portland Timbers attack standpoint. I mean, outside of the Valeri free kick there in the second half when Waston was called for that handball, I mean, Valeri didn't really do much in that match. Sebastian Blanco didn't do a whole lot in that match. And that comes down to, those 2 holding mids right in front of the 2 center backs locking down the midfield. I mean, you're not going to see that stuff's not going to show up in the stat sheet. Their job is to sit there and protect Hagelin and Wasson, and they did a really good job of that. So, but by the way, I was thinking about this Sunday, during the match, and I couldn't recall a time where FC Cincinnati had scored 2 goals in such a short amount of period of time. It was just 2 minutes apart. And so I had our intern research this today. And can you believe this? This has actually happened 3 times where 2 goals have been scored closer together than the 2 that were scored on Sunday. So we have to give credit to Jacob for spending some time on his spring break to find this information out. The 2 closest, or the 3 that top the one from Sunday, back on June 18th of 2016 against TFC2. Harrison Delbridge and Stevenson get on the score sheet in the 61st and 62nd minute. I think actually that Stevenson goal might have been the goal of the year vote for Bill. That beautiful build-up play in that one. And then back just last year in Ottawa, Walker scores the worldie from midfield. And then a minute later, Corbin Bone gets on the score sheet in the 69th minute. And then in the Open Cup last year at Pittsburgh, you had Lance Lang with the free kick goal, with Daniel Haber following it up in the 62nd minute. So I thought, man, that has to be the fastest. But nope. Sure enough, there were 3 faster, believe it or not.
I couldn't think of it when you first brought the question up, but now that you mentioned I was at that Pittsburgh game. I remember Lang firing off that bullet, and it was beautiful. And I can't believe that didn't jog my memory.
Yeah, but I mean, I'll tell you a funny side story real quick. My son and wife had to go to the restroom and drank a little too much at Hangover Easy before the match. Too many Sprites for the young Superling. So he had to use the restroom, missed both goals. So,
oh no.
So Ben, you learned your lesson. Easy on the Sprites before the match, buddy. You missed them both. So Allie and I had a nice little chuckle at that. So a couple of goals. And then the red card. Portland's Valeris Mabiala sent off after his second yellow. And this was a play where Mane had gotten through. And the quickness just really got to Portland's back line. Once the red card happened, gentlemen, you knew that this match was pretty much wrapped up for FC Cincinnati. It would have taken a drastic letdown for the orange and blue to let those 3 points slip by. Once that card happened, though, did you feel like it was smooth sailing?
When the third goal went in, I felt like it was smooth sailing. But yes, the red card was candy. What is it? Top of the cake? I don't know what that expression
Icing
is.
on the cake.
Icing.
I think is the word.
Icing. Yes, thank you guys. I'm not a cake eater, obviously.
What?
But I'm a pie guy.
All right then.
But anyway, I felt good, with a second goal. I felt really good. Third goal, red card, unnecessary, really kind of a dumb mistake, because who cares if who was that? That was Mane, right? That was streaking down the
Mane,
field. Yeah. So who cares if he gets a fourth goal? Like it's 3. Was it 3-0 at the time, or was it 2-0? But either way, who cares? You're already. It was late in the game. You're probably already beat. Why take the unnecessary red card? And I think I saw some Portland Timber fans saying that today. Just that's 2 games in a row for them.
I have to imagine, though, as a player, you're just that's reaction. I mean, you're looking at a guy, cutting with speed right to the top of the box, dead center, winding up for a potential shot. You do what you would normally do. You don't even think about the fact that it's 3-0 and why are you waiting? I mean, and normally you wouldn't do that, obviously, on a yellow card, but again, most of the time people will do anything to prevent that goal. I'm sure if he had thought about it 20 seconds, he would have said, "Oh, this doesn't make any sense." But in that split second that he had, he reacted.
Yeah, it was a double yellow. I apologize for my use of red card. He was on a yellow card, got a second yellow card, red card.
Got a second yellow card, and you're right. Second match in a row, Portland has had somebody sent off. So yeah, at that point, match was pretty much well in hand. And
it's a reversal of the crew game, right? I mean, that's exactly what happened to us in the crew game.
Yeah,
went down 3-0, gave up a red card. You're done. I mean, at that point, you just try to maintain your dignity a little bit and not give up another goal.
So Portland, at that point, game was pretty much over. I think Allan Cruz knew that match was wrapped up. I don't know if his intention was to play Ledesma. I don't know if this was a close match. Maybe he doesn't get in, but up 3-0 in front of the home crowd, up a man. Couldn't have been a more perfect time to bring on the USL MVP. And I'll tell you what, I've heard Nippert Stadium pretty loud before. That was pretty dang loud.
Jimmy would have been louder.
I don't know. I think Jimmy's loved, but Ledesma did amazing things here last year, and you could tell, like 32,000 fans. How many of them have been to a soccer match in Nippert Stadium before? Because you're right, Suze, that place roared, and I'm not sure if it was a Koch political bone there towards kind of throwing a bone towards the fans, or if it really was Ledesma's time to come into that game. But what a good move, even if it was just politics. It's a good move. Nippert was excited to see him.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, your man of the match, gentlemen.
Ooh,
I go Richie.
That's a solid choice. How about you, Boston?
First clean sheet, yeah, not bad, Bill. Just to be a little bit different, I'm going to give it to Waston. I saw a lot of our fans on our fan cams today that hit YouTube were saying Waston, and I like a lot of their reasoning. His goal set the pace for this match. You can almost argue that his goal lit up Nippert, put Portland down. In the mindset, and just kind of that goal set the pace, and the result is because of that 15-minute goal.
Yeah.
Richie made 2 incredible saves.
Oh, sure.
That kept us in that game. If those had gone on, it wouldn't have been at all the same game. That's my reasoning.
Yeah. I mean, there's a lot of good candidates. I mean, Allan Cruz had a fantastic match, was awarded man of the match, I believe, there at the match. For me, I went with Waston simply because every attempt, every lob into the box, whether it was a corner kick, whether it was a free kick, whether it was just a cross, Waston, I'll tell you what, he's a beast. He cleared every chance. There was nothing too scary back there in the back. It wasn't like they were fumbling around to try to protect Spencer Richie. It was nice and clean back there for the first time really this season that we've seen out of that back four. And he scores the first goal in I guess in FC Cincinnati history at home. So he's my man of the match. We want to hear from you, folks. Let us know feedback at CincinnatiSoccerTalk.com. Who you thought was the man of the match. on Sunday afternoon. All right, it's that time of the show where we give a big shout-out and thanks to our tremendous supporters. Let's give it up to King's Hammer and Tim Bronsel, Matt Adamchick, Mama Subes, Brian Malone, Jamie Smed, Mike Hudson, Jonas Tom, Jack Emery, Mike Bowman, Kathleen Francis, Jesse King, Teresa Everidge, Matt Imholt, Matthew Long, and Joe Coling. Thank you so much for your support of Cincinnati Soccer Talk. To learn more on how you can support the show and the website, head on over to CincinnatiSoccerTalk.com and find out a little bit more. A little bit does go a long way. As I mentioned earlier in the show, we want to hear from you. The King's Hammer hotline is open, 513-399-KICK, 513-399-KICK. We want to know about your match day experience. So, again, get in touch with us, 513-399-KICK. Brian Weigel standing by, ready to take your calls. Let's go to the King's Hammer hotline, shall we? Let's welcome in good friend of the show, Chris Weimer. Chris, what's going on, buddy? How you been? It was good seeing you over the weekend.
It was good seeing you also.
What's
I
up?
think the biggest thing I noticed late yesterday was all of the fans. It wasn't just the Bailey doing chants. It was neat seeing the GA. As soon as Timbers Army stood up and started singing, they would get louder so nobody could hear them from our side. It was just neat. It was a great citywide participation event. It was the whole stadium was involved, and it was pretty awesome to just sit back and watch the thunderclap. That was goosebumps. 85th minute. That was just echoing. It was awesome. I can't explain it any more than that, but it's going to be an exciting year. I think everybody's going to be into it and wants to learn the chants this year. So we're going to be a dangerous place at Nippert Stadium. It's going to be a dangerous place for all MLS teams to come in and play. I'm
glad you brought that up too, Chris, because you know, I was, as I mentioned earlier, I was sitting very close to the Timbers Army, so I heard them, and when they got loud, I was really impressed with how quickly the rest of the stadium picked up on that. Like, hey, we can't let Timbers Army come in Nippert Stadium and out loud us. So the Cincinnati, here we go. That's a chant that I think most of the fans by now know after 3 full seasons with it. Maybe that should be our welcome home at the beginning of the match.
Likewise, Subes, I was in 104, which is maybe 3 or 4 sections away from the Bailey, and I've sat there for this is my 4th season. When I'm not sitting in the Bailey, I'm there, and this is the first time in 4 years where the entire section next to us, our section, and so on, stood the entire first half. And then sat down for halftime and then got back up and stood for the entire second half. I could not believe it. All these families and, even elderly, everyone was on their feet that entire game. No one was complaining about the guy in front of them that wouldn't sit down. Everyone was just into the match. And then when my section started singing along with the Bailey, I turned to the people I was sitting with, and I was just like, is this happening? Like, we've never done this. And I was just amazed. Like, I'm always the idiot singing by myself in 104, and I could not believe that match 1, season 1 of Major League Soccer, we are already achieving like what I've dreamed we would achieve.
Well, Chris, good stuff, man. Like I said, it was good seeing you. Thanks for sticking a hole for us, the show here tonight. And I hope to see you again soon, brother.
I'll see you soon.
So,
see you.
Chris Weimer, Gnome of the Bailey, leading us off here on the King's Hammer Hotline, 513-399-KICK, 513-399-KICK. Let's go back to the King's Hammer Hotline. Gentlemen, you want to stick with the phones or we want to move on? I think we stick
phones
with the
are
phones.
good.
All right.
Let's do it. Give her a call and let's talk to him.
All right, let's see here. Let's welcome in Levi to the show. Hi, Levi. How are you?
I'm doing well. How are you?
I'm good. What's on your mind?
I just wanted to I heard you guys talking about your man of the match. I don't think he was necessarily my man of the match, but I was really impressed with Mane yesterday.
Yeah.
Just his speed, his handling, his dribbling.
His drive.
Yeah, really nice.
Do you like
Absolutely.
him in that central midfield role? Being the guy that really gets those balls forward out of the midfield and delivers it up front. Do you think I think this is the second time we've seen him in that role. Do you feel like he improved since Atlanta?
Yeah, I think he played really well. I noticed that like in the first half, he kind of seemed to be like switching back and forth with Audie. Like if Audie would go up top, he'd drop back, and then if Audie dropped back a bit, he would run up front and kind of pester him, try to put him under some pressure.
Yeah, it almost seemed like they were playing. He wasn't necessarily playing a 10 so much as it was like a 4-4-2 where they had two strikers up top.
I agree with that as well.
Yeah, it's definitely.
Yeah, I think he.
That's just what it seemed like in the first half. Yeah, sorry.
It's all good. Yeah, they keep calling it a 4-2-3-1, but he plays so dominantly high. He and Audie are swapping back and forth continuously. To me, it really looks more like a 4-4-2. In Atlanta, when we were 30,000 feet in the air looking down on the field, you could actually see the lines so clearly of our team and how they were lined up. They held their lines very, very nicely during that game, which obviously helped us defensively. But you could see the 4, and then 2. Audie and Mane were lined up side by side a lot of times. So,
well, Levi, we appreciate the call, man. Don't be a stranger.
Yeah, no problem.
It's Levi.
Thank you.
No problem. That's Levi on the Kings Hammer hotline, 513-399-KICK. The lines are blowing up now. Brian sat for about 20 minutes just waiting for us to quit yapping, and now he's getting busy here. So let's go back to the Kings Hammer hotline. Let's welcome in Anthony to the show. Anthony, how are you?
I'm doing well. How are you doing?
I'm doing great, man. We're live. It feels good to be back live again after a couple weeks off. And, of course, it feels great after a big win on Sunday. What's on your mind?
So I want to set the record straight about the Timbers Army.
Okay.
They were pretty obnoxious.
Oh.
My family was actually standing in line at the gate waiting to get in, and here comes security. Everybody from here back, move over. And they pushed the Timbers Army in through, pushed us out of the way so the Timbers Army could come through. But while we waited, the Army was just yelling at us, egging us on, trying to get us to react.
Huh.
So
interesting.
Just everybody's experience is different.
Yeah, sure. And I went to Atlanta, so I just wanted to give you a little heads up on why they do that. When we went to Atlanta, they have like Nippert's probably different because they don't have as many entrances as a new $1 billion statement, but they had us go in a separate entrance. And Major League Soccer is so worried about that confrontation that you just talked about, that they have the supporters show up so early, and then they hold them after the match so that there won't be any trouble because of that mob mentality when you get in groups. I'm sad to hear that it didn't go very well with them entering. They probably thought they were dealing with more supporter-based fans and not regular people
not
in
families.
line. Yeah,
right. Well, and I get the whole supporter back and forth banter and everything, but it's obviously it's families. I had 6 kids with me.
Sure,
it's not that difficult to see. Hey, all my kids are with me. And they're trying to hide.
Sure, and totally understandable. And I'm just basing it on my experience with the few Timbers fans that showed up at Hangover Easy. And granted, I was sitting 2 sections away from the Timbers Army. I didn't hear, cursing. I didn't hear obnoxiousness. And then, as the match ended, seeing them file out. We even talked to one Timbers fan on our fan cams. That was just personally my experience. Now, I'm not saying that didn't happen with you, and I'm sure there were some obnoxious Timbers fans. And let's be fair, there's probably some obnoxious FC Cincinnati fans on Sunday as well.
That's me.
I've met them.
Well, well, I'm sorry that you had that experience, and hopefully, the opposing teams. Hopefully, we don't experience that a lot this year at Nipper Stadium.
Yeah, to be fair as well, we've moved.
Maybe we can get the team to think about this in advance and actually have a dedicated gate for them to go through, and just have that just for them.
Yeah, and you're basically where I was going with that. I was going to say, let's be fair. The club has moved the visiting supporters away from us, the Bailey, because I'm speaking as the Bailey now. And the idea there is to obviously diffuse some really potentially bad situations, which we've not had any issues with in the past, but MLS now and things are potentially different, larger visiting crowds, etc. But they're figuring it out as well. So the SGs are meeting with the front office on a regular basis to discuss these things. In fact, I think we have a meeting on Thursday, so this is something that I can mention to them when I'm there, and we'll just try to continue as a whole, as the club and the supporters and the fans, to find a way to make this work the best. So we'll maybe give them a bye on the first game, and hopefully we don't have this issue in the future.
Exactly.
Well, good stuff, Anthony. Appreciate the call. Don't be a stranger.
I won't. Just remember how to spell my last name.
Zawoski, correct?
Yeah.
Nailed it. It was good seeing you at Hangover Easy, buddy.
You too.
And thank you for your support. We really appreciate it. All right, that's Anthony on the Kings Hammer hotline. Again, phone lines open 513-399-KICK. They keep coming in, gents. Let's keep going. Let's speak with Ethan. Ethan, welcome to Cincinnati Soccer Talk. How are you?
Good. How are you doing?
I'm doing good. What's on your mind tonight?
Yeah, I'm just saying. So, a few hours before the game, I think it was like 2 hours, maybe even an hour and a half. Don't really know because it was a very nice long Sunday that we had there. So I parked at the Woodside Garage, right? And then so I was starting to walk over to one of the supporters bars, and I'm passing this huge line that's going back in there towards one of the gates. And then I see this from a distance, this small person, and he's just getting a little bigger and bigger and bigger. Not that big because Jimmy's not that big. But I just see Jimmy come walking by, and the whole crowd just erupts for him. There's chants for FCC going on. And then Jimmy's up there just saying hi to a few of the fans. It was pretty cool seeing. And, I mean, you just don't see that with some of these clubs. He's walking in there just like everybody else did.
So Jim,
it was just.
Sorry to cut you off. Did Jimmy come in the Bailey? Because I missed this. I missed everything you're talking about. So I'm bummed.
I didn't see him walk into the Bailey, but it was when people were waiting to get into the stadium.
Oh, really?
So people were waiting to get into the stadium, and Jimmy walked right past all of them.
That's pretty cool, though.
Yeah, he was there talking to fans. There was some fan pictures that went out online. I saw Jimmy with Forrest Lasso and Tyler Gibson, actually. So it sounds like all three of them were hanging out.
Tyler there.
Yep, he was there.
It was a very nice day. Saw a bunch of different people here. I saw Andrew Wiebe over here. Very nice guy to talk to.
Yeah, he was. I actually walked up to Wiebe myself and introduced myself. It was fun chatting with him on the podcast on Monday, and it was fun. I'll tell you what, it was fun watching his social media account of what all happened, all the MLS stuff he did for his job. I put that in air quotes because that's a fun job to have, I'll tell you what. And, he was thoroughly impressed with what happened in Cincinnati. Couldn't speak any more highly about the city and the club.
Me neither. That was amazing. That was an amazing performance in the game itself, but the supporters that were there doesn't get better than that.
No, it doesn't.
Just seeing the pictures that were in the videos that were coming out of the march to the match was amazing. Great job for this city. It's great to see everyone coming together.
Absolutely. Hey, Ethan, appreciate the call, man.
All right, thank you.
Let's go to Arthur, King of the Scots. You're welcome. Welcome to CST, Arthur. How are you?
I'm doing good. Well, I need to preface this with I need to ask you guys to wish me luck because I just matched for my medical residency in Louisville, of all places.
Oh,
so unfortunately, I'll be sitting with the next. Yeah, it was actually one of my top choices. So in case my program director is listening, I actually love the program. It's a great program.
Well,
but
nice save.
But it will be a little tough driving back. Since I'm a season ticket holder, it's going to be a little tough driving back and forth to get out to the games. But I want to talk about the game. I was at the game today. My new season tickets. or not today, Sunday, and it was just amazing. I bet. Yeah, thank you. And it was just it's probably the second best FCC game I've been to since the Chicago Fire game. In all honesty, it was just so electric. It was just so engrossing how everyone around the stadium was so into it. And I wanted to give a shout out to Roland Lamar, because he didn't get on the score sheet this last game, but he's been probably one of the most dynamic players we've had through the first 3 games, I want to say. He just creates so many chances. And we talked about this last week, but he's created so many chances. He has such great ball carrying capacity. It was funny because I was reading a lot of reviews by FC Dallas fans online, and didn't seem to be a big fan of him. But he's been so good throughout this early stretch. I'm really excited to see what he can do.
I'm with you 100%. I've really enjoyed watching him play. And I mean, his attempt there on the second goal from Cruz, if it's not for Roland Lamar, Cruz isn't there to backheel that in. So I'm with you 100%.
Exactly.
I'm sure you two, Boston or Bill, want to agree with me there.
Well, I don't think we'll disagree. But I would say the one thing I think that impressed me the most was, when he got the last goal, they talked to him about it, and he was just, kind of making the comment about that, you have to be ready all the time. You have to be prepared. When the opportunities come, you have to take them. You have to make them into something. I just thought this is exactly the kind of mentality that Cincinnati expects from its players. I think he's gonna do well. So,
yeah, I'm not going to take too much time. I agree with both of these points. What I do like about him is that he's different. He's different than Audie. He's a different style of player. So if you have both of them in there, he offers something different, and we saw that pay dividends in Atlanta. And I just want to see more out of him. But I think he's on the right path.
I will say this. One thing I wish Lamar would do better at is corner kicks, because those were some pretty rough corner kicks on Sunday. But that's, again, I'm picking at straws here because he had a really good performance on Sunday afternoon.
Oh, I agree. I will say, I think the wind that Nipper picks up sometimes can interfere with corner kicks. Granted, yeah, he left a lot to be desired.
Yep. Well, we appreciate the call, Arthur, and best of luck there in Louisville. We'll be rooting for you.
Thank you, and I'll be rooting for FC seeing you guys.
Oh, that's fantastic. Take it easy. We've got lines open on the Kings Hammer hotline, 513-399-KICK. We want to hear about your match day experience. Where did you pregame? Were you part of the march? What did you think of the march? Let us know your vantage point. And again, 513-399-KICK. I was at Hangover Easy. It was pretty cool. Get to hang out with the brigade. The BBC showed up there and interviewed a bunch of folks from the brigade. I know, Boston, you were at Mecklenburg Gardens, and you said it was pure chaos there. Bill, you were at Top Cats, which
same thing.
Some of the videos I saw today, it was pure chaos. And even at Hangover Easy, it was pretty packed. And so when that march took off, I wasn't going to march because my wife and kids, they didn't want to take part in it, and certainly understand. They've done it before, and they don't need to do it again. But I was like, you know what? I can't miss this. It's the first march as a Major League Soccer team at home. I got to go do it. And I'm so glad that I did. I was very fortunate. I was behind the drums going down the hill and coming back up the hill. And as I turn around, and we're almost all the way up the hill there on, I believe it's Charlton. We're almost to the Bearcat, and I turn around, and I can't see the end of the march. That was incredible. And I know it's just a march, but that to think where we were 4 years ago, and Boston, you tweeted this out, we were excited about 14,000 people being at that home opener against Charlotte. And here we are 4 years later, or 3 years later, I guess you should say. Just what an incredible atmosphere. The march has just grown in leaps and bounds, and a lot of fun. And more people see it, they want to be a part of it. I mean, we saw it today. A couple of city councilmen wanting to get involved.
Yeah, I've been a part of a lot of marches. Bill has been drumming in a lot of marches, and I've never seen anything that large ever before. Even Columbus and Chicago Fire, those were good games, but the marches were not that big. That is a first, and it was downright impressive. And man, just watching the reaction online, I think it's kind of one of those things where America just kind of took a breath. American soccer, even people that don't like soccer in Cincinnati, it's all over the news. Just kind of like, whoa, maybe something really is happening in Cincinnati.
Yeah, it was insane. I mean, obviously I'm drumming during the whole process, so I'm one of those guys who, chewing gum and walking is probably a challenge. So, I'm doing my best just to keep the beat and get up the hill without falling over somebody or something. And as we're kind of getting near the top and there's a Bearcat statue in front of us, I just start seeing everybody like turning around and this look on their face of just stunned. I mean, it was speechlessness on everybody's part. And I'm like, all right, well, this is going to be interesting, but I'm going to turn around and walk backwards while I'm drumming. So I ended up doing that for a little bit so I could watch it. And once I got turned around, I didn't want to turn back. I mean, it was just mind blowing to see that mass of bodies. And as you said, there was no end.
Yeah.
There was no end in sight. And it was inspiring all at the same time. It was amazing. So I don't think there's any feeling like that. And some of the pictures that came out, people were talking about, this looks photoshopped. It did. I mean, just because you're not used to seeing that many physical bodies all massed together in that way. It didn't seem like it could possibly be real, but it was real.
Yeah, it was definitely real. I was walking alongside Brad Weigel, and I turned around. I'm like, Brad, you got to look at this. He turns around. His jaw dropped. He grabbed his wife, Ashley. He's like, you have to turn around and look at this. And it was absolutely incredible. Our Ken Hetker, our own Ken Hetker, very fortunate. Although he's not probably happy with the amount of notifications his phone endured over the last 24 hours. It's probably still blowing up, actually. He had a fantastic video of the march coming down Charlton, and NBC Sports shared it, and that was pretty cool. Stu Holden shared his video. You talk about viral. That was pretty dang awesome.
Yeah,
anyway, go ahead,
right
Austin.
place, right time for Ken.
Yeah, no kidding. 513-399-KICK. Get in touch with us. We want to hear about your match day experience. Let's go back to the King's Hammer hotline and welcome in Matt to the show. Matt, how's it going?
Oh, it's going fantastic. I had such a great time. I don't know if you can tell, but my voice is pretty much shot.
Yeah, I'm with you. Mine's a little bit deeper, a little bit more radio-ish tonight.
It was so much fun. One of the things that we did at Hangover Easy, we had some Portland fans. I kind of was the ambassador for those guys, and they came back and made sure that they got some beverages, some Cokes or some waters, whatever beverages they were drinking. And we had an impromptu chant battle. Was just all in good fun. They were doing their chants. We were doing our chants. They were actually like the Hey Cincinnati chant. They thought, why didn't they think of it? So just from the pre-match piece, that was just fun, hanging out. There was so many people at Hangover Easy. I had so many people sign my cape, which was fun.
Yes, thank you. Thank you for letting me sign your cape. I signed it and then was immediately made fun of by my wife. She said it looked like a fifth grader signed your cape. So thank you, Sarah, for that. But I appreciate it. I'm not used to people asking me to sign things, so I have to get used to that.
Did you put yours right next to mine?
Well, that's fine.
I was 2 weeks ago. So.
No, I don't know where yours was. I didn't see it. But I signed right on Matt. I'll be honest. I signed right on Matt's behind, and I was very proud to do that.
But actually, during the game, I said, so I don't know how it looked in the Bailey. First off, you guys crushed it. The Bailey absolutely crushed it. I was surprised at so many, because I sit in midfield. I'm losing my voice again. But I sit in midfield, and people around my areas you don't typically chant. We're chanting, obviously not in full voice,
sure.
But still more and more people are beginning to start to chant around the stadium. And we stood, we were also midfield. Our last game, I think it was the Red Bulls playoff game last year. Somebody was like, could you please sit down? And it was like the 75th minute. Could you please sit down? What? This is a playoff game. You got to get into it. So everybody was standing. Everybody was chanting. The atmosphere inside the stadium was electric. The march was. I've been doing it for 4 years. Started the fourth year. I've never seen it even half that size. I mean, we had some pretty good ones. I mean, I remember about filling most of Charlton on the way down, but to go all the way up the other side, and there's still people turning the corner. That was crazy. But my favorite, I think the favorite part of the match, I wanted to hear your perspective from seeing it in the Bailey, was Cruz's very cheeky back heel. I thought that was the slickest goal that I've seen live. Of course, Ledesma has made some really good shots, but I thought that was just spectacular seeing it live in just real time.
Yeah, it was pretty cool. It was one of those. I'll tell you what, there were many jaw-dropping moments on Sunday, and that was certainly one of them. But I'm glad you called in, Matt, and gave us your perspective, and it was really fun hanging out with you and chatting about soccer and your trips to Seattle. I think you went to Atlanta too, didn't you?
Yes, I did, and I saw Boston there as well. And it's just so much fun to hang. It's fun to watch soccer, but it's more fun to watch soccer with your friends. So
absolutely,
that's all I can say.
All right, Matt. Appreciate the call, buddy.
Night, guys.
That's Matt on the King's Hammer Hotline. Let's go one more here. Let's go to Jim. Let's welcome Jim here to the King's Hammer Hotline. Jim, how are you tonight?
Doing good, guys. How about you guys? Love the show.
Thank you. We're doing well. We're talking soccer on Monday night. Doesn't get any better than this.
Yes, guys. I actually had a question, more of a personnel side thing, regarding TT, who has kind of been absent for a little while. Regarding that, we kind of had a situation last year with Evan Newton where he kind of got hurt and Spencer kind of took the position and ran with it. Regarding that, do you feel like Spencer has kind of earned that spot until he shows that he has a chink in the armor, so to speak, or when TT is healthy, do we put him back in there? There was kind of that mentality in the preseason where TT was kind of going to be that guy and Spencer was kind of going to be that fill-in for, when the normal 11 couldn't play or when there was a rest. I just want to get your guys' take on that.
Well, that is certainly an interesting topic up for debate right now, Jim. And if you ask me what you just did, to me, after what I saw, out of TT in that first match and what I saw in Charleston, which maybe isn't completely fair, I like Richie back there. He seems like a more calming presence. He's a good shot stopper. And if you're Allan Cruz, to me, and I'll pose this to you two, I think you play the hot hand, and he's playing well. Granted, he gave up that goal against Joseph Martinez, but that thing was a rocket. I don't know if any keeper in MLS is stopping that. But outside of that, I mean, he doesn't look rattled. He doesn't look flustered back there when things aren't going right. It just looks really clean, Bill.
Yeah, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. Right. I said basically the same thing about the lineup for United, Atlanta United to Portland games, right? That we didn't make any changes. I think it's the same thing with Richie. And we saw that last year, exactly as you just said. Evan Newton had it. Evan Newton got injured. And then Richie got his chance. And Evan Newton never really came back into play. And I think especially with keepers, like strikers, when they're hot, and you keep them on the field.
I have to agree. I was a skeptic of Richie last year. I wanted Newton back in. I was one of the people last season clamoring for Newton to come back in because he had a Golden Glove performance season. And so this year I'm gonna take the opposite side of the approach. I want Richie. We know what we're getting. We've seen him last year. We've now seen what he can do in Major League Soccer, and it doesn't seem like this talent gap is something he can't conquer. He's conquered it. He conquered the Portland Timbers with two amazing saves.
Yeah.
I know TT was brought in here to be the starter. I know they probably have a lot of money on the line, but let's just give Richie a chance. And if we have a bad game, then we have a bad game.
Milk first, man.
Does that answer your question, Jim?
Yeah, it does. But you also kind of feel like on the back end, like it says a lot about Allan Cruz, who decided to keep Richie versus Evan. You kind of feel like Spencer was ready for this opportunity, and when it came, that save against Joseph Martinez saved the Atlanta point that we got, and then this performance that he had against Portland, obviously an MLS keeper of the week.
Yeah.
It's been really incredible to see Spencer step up and take the opportunity.
Well, we're kind of losing you there a little bit, Jim, but we appreciate the call. And, I agree there with Spencer. Mike Berryman on YouTube just says the back four and goalkeeper should not change now. Unfortunately, it's going to because we've got some guys, particularly Kendall Waston, who will not be playing this weekend against the New England Revolution. That is due to international call-ups. Kendall Waston, Allan Cruz, Alvis Powell, Darren Maddox, and Frankie Amaya out versus New England. So it's going to be a little bit of a different roster for the Revolution game this weekend. Probably we're going to see, my guess is Haglund at center back. We might see, depending on how they want to play this, you could put Forrest back there with Haglund. You could put Duplan in at center back and maybe put Hoyt at right back because obviously you're not going to have Powell. Garza maybe get to start this weekend. You know, maybe this is more a chance to see Ledesma. Maybe Corbin Bone gets an opportunity. Maybe a guy like Eric Alexander, who we saw in Seattle. There's going to be a shakeup this weekend, and this is where, you know, fans of FC Cincinnati are not going to be used to this. We're not used to international call-ups in the middle of the season like we have with these star players that we have. So it's going to be interesting to see how Allen rolls things out this weekend, Bill.
Yeah, 100%. And of course, you know, this is a great problem to have. You know, people kind of talked a lot about this roster, like we didn't have a great roster, and there was concerns about how we were going to play this season. And now the first international window opens up, and we have 5 players called out. Obviously, these are not players of low quality. These are players that are being noticed on an international stage. So the fact that they're being asked to come to their national teams and play says a lot about the quality of the roster that we have. And on top of that, you know, I think people are worried about our 11. I'm not so worried about our 11. As you said, there's some changes that we can make, but I think you're going to see something fairly similar to what we've already been rolling out. I think the big question is our bench, you know, where we've had Garza and Safe now as players we're trying to integrate into our lineup, and they're like big players on our bench. They're probably going to start, right? Because, you know, Powell's going to be out, so we're going to bring Garza in. We're going to be missing Cruz. So, you know, we're probably going to put Safe in. Those were subs we made in Atlanta, right? We pulled those players out and we put in Garza and Safe. And I think you're going to see a lineup similar to the last, you know, 20 minutes at Atlanta. For me, the big question is up top. I mean, you know, if Maddox was here, I wouldn't be worried about it, but with Adi questionable now because we don't really know what happened, that leaves a huge gap, and we don't have a lot of strikers up top. In the back, Waston's going to be a big hurt to not have. He's probably the biggest question for me there. But I feel like Lasso has an opportunity to prove himself, and then we've seen Stanko in that position as well. So,
I forgot about Stanko. Oh my god!
Exactly, we have players we can put back there. So, you know, I think you're going to see we're going to have a thin bench in the fact that we're going to have to basically roll out every player we have left in our 18. But I think, you know, we at least have a good starting 11. You know, you're going to have some decent players on the bench.
Well, let's clear it up to Kendall Waston, Allan Cruz getting the call up for the Costa Rican national team, Darren Maddox and Alvis Powell for the Jamaican national team, and Frankie Amaya, he'll be with the U.S. under 20s. And just think it could have been a lot worse. You know, had Greg Garza been healthy, he probably would have been a U.S. men's national team call up. So maybe FC Cincinnati gets lucky there. We did get this question, you know, what do you do up top with the, you know, with this injury? I don't know if you can necessarily add anybody, but can you recall maybe a Rayshon Daly on loan from Memphis?
Emery Welshman,
but
nah.
But that's an international spot, so maybe you can't bring back Emery.
So we've talked about the lineups, right? And we've said that typically they roll out what they call a 4-2-3-1, and they have Mane as a 10, right? So when I look at it, I see more of a 4-4-2 with him playing up top as a second striker. Maybe for New England Revolution in this situation, we truly go to a 4-2-3-1 and push Mane up top as our striker, and we bring in a 10. And you know, names like Bone, maybe Nas. Yeah. I would guess probably Bone, just in the fact that we saw him in Seattle, and I don't think he had a bad game. I mean, all things
He
considered.
didn't have a great game. But.
No, but I said all things considered. But you know, we've seen him at least at the MLS level already get the nod once. So to me, maybe that gives us an option to play a 4-2-3-1. We're not going to be as dangerous as having Adi and Mane up top because the two of them are so different and they play off each other and they give the defenses different things to think about. So if we go back to the 4-2-3-1, we're a little bit less dangerous in the attack, but I think on the same, because Bone, to me, I mean, I'm not putting Bone down, but he's not quite as forward driven as Mane is, right? So when you swap, you know, Bone in for the 10, you're going to be looking at somebody who maybe goes backwards a little bit more often.
Paul Hecker says bring back Jibby. No, I don't think that's happening. We did get this question from Andy Rosen. He wants to know how long the call-ups last. So usually what happens during an international break in Major League Soccer at this point, they will take international breaks. This weekend they won't. For whatever reason, they've chosen not to do that. So what will happen is I believe there will be a match usually it's either Thursday, Friday, or Saturday, and then another match on Monday or Tuesday or Wednesday of next week, depending on which federation you play for or which country you play for. So you're only going to miss the one match. Typically what you see in the English leagues or the German league, Italian league over in Europe, when they take an international break, the clubs don't play. So for whatever reason, Major League Soccer doesn't do that this early on, but yeah, so it's only the one game, so that's all you have to worry about. What you do have to worry about is these guys going off international duty and picking up an injury, which we do not want to happen. So hopefully that answers your question, Andy. We got some more callers here. Should we head back to the King's Hammer Hotline, gents?
Let's do it.
All right, let's welcome in Jack to the show, big supporter of the show. Jack, how's it going?
Hey, man, how are you?
I'm doing well.
Glad to finally call in.
Yeah, it's good to hear from you.
Yeah.
How's Thomas?
I been thinking a lot about what we're going to. Oh, well, he's recovering. Broken thumb is no fun, so or dislocated, I should say. I was calling in because I've been thinking a lot about next week. I was a little worried until I started looking at the lineup, and I think it's important for the team to kind of stay on the same sort of system and not mess with it too much. I think a little shift more towards like what we did after Adi went out, but instead of Maddox, who will be with Jamaica, we move Mane up top. And then that allows us to drop underneath Safe, I think, who has been known to play centrally, even though we haven't seen it, and we didn't see it with the U.S. national team.
Well, apparently he could play everywhere. He could play left back. He could play center back. I mean, we've been letting
right back, exactly, wide. He's a magic man, right? But drop him underneath and maybe spell him Ledesma, considering that some people say he's not ready to go 90, which I'm not sure about because he was training fully and playing in Belgium, so we'll see. And then if Garza's good to go, you move Garza into the Plan spot and move the Plan to the right. And then I think then you just drop in another center back, probably Lasso or someone. To me, that creates the most stability. I think Wasson will actually be the most missed player.
Yeah.
So we've shown that we can create goals from a number of different places. But I have more concerns about the defense being solid and steady, and I wouldn't really want to change that around too much if we can avoid it. Garza, when he came in at the Atlanta game, was silky smooth. It's just a question of health, and he's pretty injury prone. So that's sort of my 2 cents on.
Yep, that's a great point.
Kind of what we should try to do if we can.
It doesn't take Garza much over the past few years. Let's hope that that's not the case, because you're right. They're going to need somebody to play some minutes this weekend, whether that's Garza or Hoyt, who we saw play. I believe he played left back in the preseason. So yeah, I mean, it's going to be interesting to see. He's got some flexibility.
I mean, yeah. And Powell has played the last 2 games a little more like Hoyt. He didn't make as many adventurous runs, thank God. So he didn't have to worry about running back, which he didn't seem to want to do in the Seattle match.
Yeah.
So I mean, we could probably live with a wide guy a wide defender who isn't going to go that far forward, which Hoyt just doesn't. It's not as much of a skill set.
Yeah, we still have Duplan, right? And we saw what he could do in his last match.
We're still going to have Bertoni as well.
Yeah, let him be the guy that flies forward.
Right.
When he scored that goal, I remember just thinking to myself, what is he doing up there? Like he was right in front of the net. And I'm like, what in the world? You get back there. But, you know,
he makes like 2 or 3 runs a game, and he gets a good chance in each one. He just makes really good choices.
If you watch that Cruz goal, the back heel, Duplan is standing right on the back post.
If he misses it, he's right there to tap it in.
Exactly.
So Duplan could have had a brace, is what
Really
you're saying.
smart player.
Yep. If Cruz hadn't had that in, it was going in anyway.
Yeah. Well, Jack, we appreciate the call, man. And, of course, your tremendous support.
Thanks, guys. Great show tonight.
It's Jack on
Thanks,
the
Jack.
Camera Hotline. Let's I'll tell you what. Wow, the lines continue to roll here. Let's welcome in Joe to the Kings Camera Hotline. Joe, welcome to Cincinnati Soccer Talk. How are you?
Good. How are you guys doing?
We're doing well, man. It doesn't get any better than this. 10 o'clock on a Monday night. Maybe we'll call in sick tomorrow. We'll do this till midnight.
Yeah, I was kind of worried I called in too late, and you guys were going to cut it off or something.
No, we're here for you. What's on your mind?
Oh, well, just I sit over in 117, and just real quick, I mean, just to echo what everyone else has been saying, it was just absolutely incredible at that game yesterday. Again, I think someone talked about their section, not really big singing and anything. Same out where I'm at, with my wife and my kids. But I've got a few regulars around me that we all sat there last year as season ticket holders, and we're all back again. And we're trying to change it so we can get some, at least some echoing, continuing down to the other end of the stadium. Hopefully it'll continue. But one thing I noticed about the game, especially Seattle, it's apples to oranges. I think Seattle in the game yesterday, but it seemed like everybody just had that little bit of extra effort that really sparks the fans. They not to compare everyone to Jimmy, but that's why everyone loves Jimmy, because that guy just was relentless in his effort all the time, and it really seemed like everybody was, especially like Ulloa. He was that creation he had there at the end that led to the other goal. I mean, that extra effort, everybody had it going on. And that's kind of what worries me about next week, because we finally found this nice little system that everyone's clicking together a little better. Not that our passing was tremendous, but that extra effort made up for it yesterday, I think.
Well, I think
at the same time, go ahead.
I was going to say, I think the saving grace, and this is, look, Major League Soccer, any team can beat you on any given day, but it's the Revs, and they're struggling. So,
exactly.
This is the perfect time to be playing them, because they're going to be missing some guys from international duty as well. So
yeah, they're missing 3.
Yeah. But that doesn't mean anything.
And
He's still got to play the game. He's still got to go out and perform.
And that's exactly what I was thinking. There are so many worse options or worse possibility for opponents for a call up like this, with losing this many people all at once. And like you all were saying, it's not a bad problem to have, but I'm not as worried about it as I would be if we were, obviously playing like a DC,
sure,
or if we had Atlanta again, or, God forbid we got to go play Seattle again this year. And, maybe in the MLS Cup, if we somehow find our miraculous feet under us for the rest of the year. But New England, I think, is probably our best option outside of maybe San Jose, for this week.
Fair enough. Yeah, San Jose also struggling. Appreciate the call, Joe.
All right, thanks, guys. I really appreciate what you do.
Oh, not a problem. Thanks for calling in. We're glad we stayed up late for you. We've got, I'll tell you what, we've got phone lines open. They keep coming in, and get in touch with us. 513-399-KICK. We'll go till the calls stop. I mean, you don't care, Bill, right? You're the one who's got to get up super early.
No, I don't get up super early.
Just kidding. I'm just teasing. Boston usually likes to make some sort of old joke in there, but I'm not even going to let him do that. So anyway, let's go back to the Kings Hammer Hotline. Now let's welcome in Brad from Oak Hills. Hi, Brad. How are you?
Hey, guys. How you doing?
We're doing well. What's on your mind?
Excellent. I just wanted to reflect on this kind of the match day experience that we just had, and I went with my 9-year-old son,
okay,
and got season tickets, did all the fun stuff. But halftime shows up, and we get in line for the bathroom, and the guy behind me just starts talking to me, and he kind of does the kind of cursory, like, oh, are you a longtime soccer fan? Is your first game here or whatever? And I just kind of started talking, and I was like, I grew up playing soccer in Cincinnati, and like my dad was my soccer coach, and he taught me soccer, like he read from a book. Like he had never seen a professional soccer game, as most men in the 80s and in this country really hadn't seen much. And then like I get bit by the bug in '94 when the World Cup shows up. That doesn't date me. I was 14 when that happened. Old I was. And then so then I start coaching. Yeah, that's about right. Then my son starts playing soccer, and I coach him. And now I have two boys, and like they're going to grow up in a city that won't know anything other than professional soccer. So I was just like, how quickly have we gone from kind of having no culture to like a soccer first household where like I jokingly say that I have like 14 caps. I've been to the Nats team. Like my family will travel around the country in vacation wherever the Nats are playing. So I mean it's just I don't know. I just like that kind of encapsulated kind of this experience for me. So like we went from 0 to 100 miles an hour so fast. And then the other thing I was going to get out there was that what it means to our younger crowds and future generations is like that third goal goes in, my son just tears up. Like he's just so excited. It was such an impressionable moment for him that it was just really nice that Cincinnati could deliver in the big moment, I guess. So that's all I really want. I wanted to say like I'm a long-time listener, first-time caller. I appreciate you giving me some time.
Oh, not a problem, Brad. Thanks for calling, and don't be a stranger.
I won't be. Thank you.
No problem. That's Brad on the King's Hammer Hotline. I said it after the Seattle match when the game kicked off that I had tears in my eyes. Sunday during the anthem and the walkout, I was doing that face she makes so that you don't cry in front of people because I knew that my wife and my kids were going to point it out. And as we were driving north to Toledo Sunday night, my wife, the kids are asleep in the back seat. She turns to me and says, "I saw you crying. You weren't crying, but I saw you crying." I said, yeah. And growing up in Cincinnati, we had the Silverbacks, we had the Riverhawks, but it was I don't want to say a joke, but it just never really taken seriously. And the fact that you've got 32,000 people at a home opener, the fact that you've got the march that we had, the quick turnaround. I mean, the fact that this has happened, I just, I look back on it, and John Strong said it best at the media luncheon. He says, we get to live the history of FC Cincinnati. We hear about the Bengals history, we hear about the Reds history, but we get to live this history. And the fact that, and Brad brings up a great point, kids are seeing this. They want to be soccer players. Nick Hagglund growing up, he didn't have that. Now his kid is going to see professional soccer and grow up to want to be like these guys. So it's going to have a trickle-down effect to our local clubs. You're probably seeing it a lot at King's Hammer there, Bill. It's just tremendous. It's going to improve the game. And the fact that here we are on a Monday night, an hour and 15 minutes into the show, we've got people calling in wanting to talk about roster and tactics and formations and everything. It's a dream come true.
And it's not done. I mean, that's what I was thinking about when Brad called in here, our last caller there. I mean, it's phenomenal what we've got now, but I just keep looking ahead at what the plans are, and I feel like we're halfway there. We're on the edge moving forward. I mean, I envision an NWSL team in Cincinnati. 100%. I envision soccer every weekend, right? Because if it's not the men's team, it's the women's team playing. And I envision the development academy coming to full force and having a men's and a women's development academy of all ages and pulling in players from all around the region and potentially all over the country, depending on how the homegrown player rules work out. But, to have Nick Hagglund's churned out yearly as we bring out these new players that all want to be, FC Cincinnati orange and blue. Yeah, I think we will never be the same. and we are on the cusp of this. We are witnessing the beginning, and it feels like it's not the beginning because this is year 4, but 10 years from now, this will be the beginning.
Yeah, I'll go real quick because you guys have already touched all the main subjects, but it is truly rare to be a part of the start of something. And if you weren't a part of the start of the USL thing, no big deal. You know, now is this new era, and jump in. If this is your first season supporting FC Cincinnati, you know, you're still going to be here for the birth of this Major League Soccer franchise. You're going to be here when we put up a new stadium. Enjoy it, take it all in, and then you can tell your kids and your grandkids and whoever else that you were here when it all started. No, you don't get that chance. You know, the people that were here when the Reds started are long gone, and those stories have had to have been passed down. But we're here for something. It's special, and you know, I don't know if Cincinnati's ever going to get a 4th sports team. If they do, it's going to be a long time from now. So just enjoy it and take it in.
Wow, this show went a lot longer than expected, and I'll tell you what, I'm super glad that it did. Thank you to all the callers tonight here on the King's Hammer Hotline. We really do appreciate it. As we're going to try and wrap things up here shortly. We'll have CST extra time after the show coming up here in a sec too. But real quick, we did get this email. This is regarding the March. Let me pull this up here. Oh yeah, this is from Will. It says, first off, big fan of the show. My question is, are the supporter groups already planning on where they are going to meet for the march before matches in the new West End Stadium, or are they still going to meet at Mecklenburg? Gosh, I mean, I'm sure there's some sort of plans, Bill, but I mean, has that even been discussed yet?
Yeah, I think all the supporters groups are at least starting to look ahead. Just want to clarify a couple things. I think at this point, it's fair to say that FCC support has grown so big, there's no way that we can all survive in one bar. Mecklenburg is where Die Innenstadt meets. Top Cats is where Pride meets. We talked about it earlier. Hangover Easy is where the Brigade meets. There's some smaller supporters groups that have their hangouts. So there's a lot of different meetup places for the supporters groups, and all of them are a great time. There was a question in there about will Mecklenburg still remain for West End? I feel confident in saying absolutely not.
That's a little far. Right?
Yeah, it's like a 45-minute walk. I actually looked earlier when I checked it on maps.google. So yeah, we're not going to do a 45-minute walk from Mecklenburg. So now here comes the question: is do you start trying to figure out where you want to go now? In 2 years, when a stadium's getting built, there's going to be some changes in the West End. There's potentially going to be some new businesses opening up, some new bars, etc. So if you jump too early, then you miss out on new opportunities, etc. But for sure, at least the Pride, which I interact with a little bit more than some of the other groups, they did an event at Queen City Radio. So they're looking, DI already has Rhinehouse. That's where they do all their away game matches. They meet there to watch the away games. I think it's a bit too small. It works for away game. I don't see how they could possibly use that for home game. It is in the right place, in the right distance, but I'm sure they're looking for something else.
No.
Yeah, you want a hot tip? I think DI has also looked at Moorline Lagerhouse, just to continue that tradition of staying the furthest one away. And then doing the march. It's about the same march as Mecklenburg. So
I'd heard that actually, but I didn't want to drop any. But go for it, Boston.
It's too soon, like you said.
Yeah,
we're talking years in advance, and you're right. New bars are going to pop up. Bars and breweries are going to close in that time. So
it's another risk. Yeah.
Yeah,
we'll align yourself with somebody who's not there anymore. That could be a real bummer.
We'll figure it out once we get a little closer. But yeah, we'll not be in Clifton anymore. We love Mecklenburg. I'm a Die Innenstadt guy. Bill's a Pride guy. But being at Mecklenburg since the beginning, it's special. It's awesome. But unfortunately, it's just not going to work.
Yeah. Thank you for the email. We appreciate it. If you have questions for us, email us feedback@CincinnatiSoccerTalk.com. Make sure you get subscribed to CST so you don't miss an episode of Cincinnati Soccer Talk. We're really glad to be back live for you this week. We've had a good week as far as the internet gremlins go, so thank you for everybody who tuned in live. If you can't catch a live show, you can always subscribe to our on-demand audio. Head over to CincinnatiSoccerTalk.com/subscribe and learn how you can do just that. And by subscribing to the show, you won't miss March to Match Day. Boston has been doing a great job with Brad each and every week previewing the upcoming opponent. And who do we have in store this week for our listeners, Boston?
Oh, I knew you were going to do that and put me on the spot. No, we are recording with we have a New England Revolution podcast lined up. You put me on the spot before I checked and seen if they have rendezvoused with us, but we will have a guest from New England, even if it's not the one we think it is.
All you need to know is you need to get subscribed so you don't miss March to Match Day, which these two gentlemen do a really good job of putting together each and every week. So fill us in a little bit about the Growler Cup, Bill. Good week. A lot of people, it sounds like nobody got it exactly right, but a couple very close.
Yeah. We're people kind of ebb and flow, so we don't get everybody voting every week. But I think this is our highest turnaround so far with the Growler Cup. We had 58 people vote this round. Nobody got it right, as you said, Subs, but 8 people did get 5 points, so that's impressive. You are, yeah, good for you. Closing the gap there.
Still losing to Mama Subs though, and I can't let that happen.
She also got 5 points.
Yeah.
So. Yeah. 4 people did predict 3 goals. So the 4 people thought we were going to score a lot. Good for them. 4 people predicted a shutout. So 4 people obviously had some faith in Richie or maybe Teton. But good for them. We actually had 38 people out of 58 predict that we would win. So a lot of positive energy going into this game. Scary enough, 30 of them predicted a 2-1 win. So that was the absolute favorite. Which means that almost everybody got 4 points.
Can we change the subject? This game's dumb.
Well, the good news is after 9
what
weeks,
place are you in Boston?
The scores will reset. So if you're having a rough start, you've still got a chance. So this is just round 1. And Jamie Lay still on top of the leaderboard after 3 weeks. So congrats to her. If you want to take part in the Growler Cup, you still can. CincinnatiSoccerTalk.com/support is where you can do just that. Normally we do our final thoughts here, but let's get this show on the road, gents, and let's head on to CST Extra Time. What do you say?
Works for me.
All right. My thanks to Brian Weigel for manning the phones tonight on the King's Hammer Hotline, and for Boston, Razzle, Dazzle, Brazzle, and Bill Wolf. Appreciate their efforts tonight. I'm Subs wrapping up from the CincyShirts.com studios, also reminding you to watch your tackles, and we will see you all next week. And we're back here, CST Extra Time, and I'm going to do a little something different for our live audience this week since we have had an issue-free show. Yay!
Completely glitch-free.
We're going to do a little CST Extra Time music. Yeah? Is that too loud for you, gentlemen? Can you handle it?
It's beautiful.
All right. Let's go to our first question this week. It is from Mike Berryman. Did Richie earn this starting goalkeeper spot after just 1 goal conceded against both 2018 MLS Cup final clubs?
Man,
Yes.
It sounds even better when you put it that way.
Yes.
Yeah. I agree with you 100% there, Mike. We all do. I think everybody at CST agrees with that one. Thanks for the question. Let's go to the next one. This is from Olivia Hess. What do you think is the toughest match or the match we need to get a result from coming in the next month?
Ooh, you're gonna make me pull out my calendar, aren't you?
Well, I'm gonna do the coach speak. You ready? It's the Revolution. Get a win there.
Get
1 week
outta
at a
here.
time. 1 week at a time. Allan would be very proud of me with that response, Bill.
He would. I'm going to say the toughest is going to be LA, right? I think that's in April. Is that coming in? Count is coming in the next month?
Yeah.
I think LA is going to be our tough one. They've been scary. And I actually agree with you. I would say at this point we have some momentum. We need to go to New England and we need to collect ideally 3 points, but at least 1 point from New England and keep the ball rolling.
You're all a bunch of Koch suck-ups. So let's. I'm gonna go with Kansas City. How we perform against Kansas City at home, because I fully expect us to drop points there. in Kansas City. They're an amazing team. We watched them play, and they're still in Champions League, and they're doing great. Let's hope Kansas City keeps staying in Champions League, so they got to play that and deal with us on April 7th at home at Nippert. But how we play against Kansas, that's the next like true test. Revolution and Philly are both decent teams. It's Major League Soccer. Anyone can win on any given week, like you said. But those are two games I kind of expect at least draws on. And Kansas City, if we can put up a show, then I think we're for real.
Yeah, I just didn't know the upcoming schedule, so I went with the Revolution to cheat. I'm kidding. I knew about Philadelphia in a couple weeks. I'll be there with my buddy Corey Finneran, so looking forward to that. Let's see. Next question. This is from our old pal Griffin. With Audie recovering and Maddox on international duty, do you think the club will bring in a proven scorer to fill in? Like a Townsend, maybe Brad Weigel's favorite Casey.
I feel like we should like snap our fingers when we talk, you know? I think it depends on what his situation is. We don't know what Audie's situation is. If he is not severely injured and we could see him, you know, sort of in a questionable state where he could be back in a week or two, I don't think we're going to make any adjustments. We're going to deal with it. If it's looking like he's out for 4 weeks or more, I would almost bank that we will be looking to augment our striker contingent.
I can almost guarantee we're not bringing Casey Townsend in as much as you want to see him, Griff.
Yeah.
His Wikipedia page still says he plays for the Wilmington Hammerheads, who no longer exist as a club. So I'm gonna go with the big no there. I think it's more likely in a desperate time, a desperate situation. Say Audie is hurt and he's out for 4 weeks. I think that we would recall somebody on loan before we would sign anybody new.
I would go with Dally. See what the kid's got, right?
Yeah.
That's my take. Thanks for the question, Griff. Hope all is well. And last but not least, this is from Rob Burkhart, who apparently in the live chat said he just dropped his phone on his face. Hope you're all right, Rob. I asked a month ago if the home opener would be your biggest sporting event for its significance. You all said no. After what transpired yesterday, has your answer changed at all? Where does it rank?
Well, way to come back and try to prove us wrong, because you're right, that was way more special than I thought it was going to be. I think I was sitting in this chair when that first question was asked, and I kind of scoffed at your question, to be honest with you. I didn't think it was going to be that big a deal, and I'll admit I was wrong. I don't. It's between this now and Chicago or Columbus for me. You're gonna have to give me a little more time because I'm like too high on this game right now. But you'll give me a little time. I'll give you a straight answer in a few weeks as to where once the emotion wears off.
Man, was I here for that question?
I don't remember.
I don't remember either. I don't know. I don't know if I would have thought it would have been the biggest significance. It was obviously very significant. 32,250 people thought so. Yeah, I mean, I think it's historic. I don't know if we could quite say it was significant, right?
Yeah.
You know, there will never be another first MLS home game. And, you know, you compare that to beating the Crew, beating Chicago in the Open Cup, or maybe some other significant things that occurred that changed the course of this city's soccer culture forever. But boy, it was historic.
It was surprisingly way more emotional than I thought.
Go ahead, Bill.
I was gonna say I forgot I had to snap when I was doing it. I'm digging this music.
All right, cool.
We should have different music every time, though.
This song came out when Bill was a teenager.
Oh,
there it was. There it was. Waiting for you, Boston. Waiting.
Oh, that was mean. I don't know, man. I'll tell you what. I was a huge baseball fan in the 90s and loved the Reds. I loved the Reds growing up. Pete Rose could do no wrong. I loved Eric Davis and Barry Larkin. yesterday does not top the 90 World Series for me. It just doesn't. Was it special? 100%. But, you know, we're talking about a World Series and an inaugural debut. Like, it's not the same. Don't get me wrong. I'm incredibly proud and excited for where this club and city have come in such a short amount of time. Yesterday was special. I'll never forget it. My kids will never forget it. But I still got to rank that 90 World Series over what just happened. Even the playoff game I went to a few years ago, when the Reds lost to the Giants in Game 5. Still, I would take that.
I was there for that. This was better than that.
Well, yeah, because of the outcome, right?
Yeah.
And this was soccer.
Right. Yeah, I'm with you there. So, yeah. Good stuff this week, gents. Appreciate all the tweets. If you didn't like our tweets, you can blame our intern, Jacob Clary, who's on spring break. Jacob, thank you very much for your efforts, even though you're not on a beach somewhere as a college senior. Good for you. But yeah, fun show, guys. Appreciate everything.
Always a blast.
Boston is deep in thought over there. Probably preparing for getting our March to Matchday guest in line.
Yeah, but yeah, I really do need to follow up on that now that you brought that up.
Oh, man. This was fun. Glad the live show went well this week. And we're going to have to figure something out next week because I'm actually in Cincinnati on Monday night. So maybe I can come over to somebody's house.
Ooh, let's do it.
Do the show. Yeah. Do you have good internet, Boston? That's the question. I'm kidding. It's better than mine is good. So we'll make it happen. Anyway.
Are you down in Kentucky, or are you going to be, where are you going to be at?
I will be in Kentucky at my mom and dad's place. But that doesn't mean I can't go to somewhere to do it.
No, I was just thinking the Weigels are up north, you know,
right.
so Boston's out east.
I'm right here. I'm east, but I'm on the river.
I'm central, man.
Are you inviting us?
Sure.
Like to have the whole crew there?
Sure.
Like a lot. Wow. All right. Well,
I don't have a pool or anything. Not that we could go swimming in this weather, but you know, Brad's always.
I've always imagined that outside your house you just have like wolf statues that like driving up at night. It would be
so
like freaky.
So I'm going to tell you that outside my house I do have statues.
Do you?
Yeah. They're not mine. They're not mine, but there are statues outside my house. I'll just leave it there.
Statues. Now I'm intrigued. Now I have to come to your house to do the show.
So. I'm wondering if he lives like in an old church with gargoyles or something.
I was thinking
gargoyles. I live next to a castle.
Oh.
What?
The Loveland Castle?
All right, we're recording at Bill's house next week.
Crusade Castle.
Let's figure out what this is.
Interesting. All right. Okay. Time to get out of here. Thank you, everybody, for being with us. Hope everybody had a fun Monday night. Glad we had no hiccups. It was good to be back live and in person, sort of, for the most part. I'm just going to keep rambling. All right. We got to get out of here. Bye.